welcome back to the channel that is nothing. I'm Jim and let's get to it. So today we're diving on into the alphabetical book tag, so let's go. And I am here as well. Princess Pie is here. Oh, I'm very upset this morning. Hello. Oh yes, I know it is very sad to be you. So obviously we're starting off at A, and I have picked After Love for this one. This is a bit of a traumatic read. It is about a very sweet queer relationship, but then one of them dies, and it's about sort of their relationship after that, but it kind of from the side of the person who like ended up being killed. It's not like as passionate or as interesting as it like used to be, and it's kind of how they traverse that, and it's really like upsetting and sweet, but also like it's just devastating like reading a story like that. For B, we've got Beyond the Wand, which is Tom Felton's autobiography, and I really enjoyed like sort of getting insight into what the Harry Potter movies were like, but then also his life alongside that. I think it is like devastatingly sweet what has happened throughout his life, like many people's lives. It's kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it was just really lovely seeing like him being so transparent on the page, and I highly recommend it. I don't really like autobiographies that much, but his I really did love. For C, I have Call Me By Your Name, which I think is like my top tier like gay relationship book. I really enjoyed it. I think people have like a problem with the age gap between it, but like nothing sort of like overly problematic happens in it, and a lot of the time the older guy is like sort of pushing him away, so it's not really like, it's not, I don't see it as gross. I think it's like more of a romantic thing than a sexual thing. That's how I perceived the book, especially because it was read to me via audiobook, and I really think is a bittersweet love story, obviously, like because they don't end up being together, which, spoiler, sorry, but I think if you've seen the movie, which a lot of people have because it's extremely popular, will know that they don't end up together, and I think it's really bittersweet because I think in a world where they could be together, they would have ended up together, but also like one of them is so extremely like, I can't be this way, it's wrong to be this way, and ends up going and having a family of his own, which is like really devastating for obviously the person who's in love with him. But you know, sometimes things just don't work out. Oh, it was the one book I was like welling up tears, crying. Trauma, it's not fun, boys. For D, I have Different Not Less, which is also another autobiography that has snuck its way into this list. The way I related to Chloe's story was like so like, I have spoken about this book several times on the channel. I really love it. If you're like neurodiverse in any way, shape or form, you should definitely pick it up. It's so sort of heartwarming to know that you're not alone, and that there are other people within like the school system that went through like the exact same things as you, or very similar, because like I remember just being taught how to learn within like a very small box, and I dare say it's probably different now, but for a lot of the older people that went through the school system, there was a lot of like hurdles you had to jump through and things you were put through that you were just like put into a box and you were different, and that's fine, but you were like left behind in the system, which is just wrong on so many levels. And so it was just nice to read someone's story that, you know, mine was fairly similar, like I just got left behind in the school system, and it's just sad because no matter how different you are, that shouldn't, you know, determine what you can and can't learn. For E, I have picked Eclipse, which is part of the Twilight Saga, which I have not read, so I cannot possibly say anything about this book. But there you go. Letter E, done. For F, I have Fear, and that is part of the Gone series, which I have not read either. But you just know it's gonna be fucked up in some way, shape or form, so there you go. For G, I have Georgia Peaches and Other Forbidden Fruit, which, what a title. I picked that book up based on the fact of that title and that it was queer. But basically it's about a girl who moves to Georgia with her father and stepmother, and they were just like, why don't you try being straight? Which is a bit cringe. Like, no parent should ever say that to their queer child. because yikes. But I think it was coming from a place where they were worried how the town would, you know, embrace her and would, you know, be homophobic instead. So she tries being straight. She goes to school. She gets in with the popular girls, and one of them happens to be queer too. So obviously they get together, and then they both come out, which becomes a big thing in the town, which is it's just a problematic story in general, like, because it basically starts off with no parent would ever ask that of their child ever. Like, it just seems like cringe, and I think it came from like the stepmother's like sort of like influence, but like it's just not nice. The premise of that, or like the way it all starts, is just sort of like, well, that would never happen, would it? For H, I have Hellbent, which is the second book within Leigh Bardugo's other series that doesn't get mentioned as much, but it's freaking cool, boys. You should read it because 1, it's Leigh Bardugo, and 2, it's Leigh Bardugo. For I have Icefire, which is in a series that not many people would know, but it's called The Fire Within. It is about dragons. It's sort of like it bounces around in the realm of dragon. It's kind of like it is the real world, and there's this lady and she makes clay dragons, but they're like real, but also there's other dragons in the real world. It's very Perception. Don't know what's going on. Inception, not Perception. But it's very cute. It's a sort of, it's a not a young adult read, but it's a teen read. So it's like, it's fantastical, it's fun, it's not really too dramatic. I mean, like, terrible things happen in it, so it's kind of not really for children, but it's not really for adults either. Somewhere in the middle there. For J, I have just Macbeth, and that is an Andy Griffiths retelling, which is just fun. It's really what got me into Shakespeare, reading this like retelling of like the characters within Andy Griffiths stories, and it's just sort of ridiculous and fun, and I just think it's a cute little read, especially if you're like trying to get your kid into Shakespeare. Not that you would force that upon them, but a lot of the time in high school they end up studying it, and you know, it's nice to have a sort of like, here's something fun that you can read to get you prepared for fucking studying it later on. I don't know, I always really like Shakespeare, so you know, it's sort of like beautiful language that means nothing. For K, I have Kingdom of Ash, which I've not read. It's sitting right there on my shelf, shaming me every day that I've not read that series. Do you know how many people have like spoken to me that I haven't read like Throne of Glass or the other one, Akatar? I just like, they're there. Like, I have proof, they're there, I swear. I'm just really, really not sure how into them I am based on what the first book was. People have told me it gets better, but like, I question their judgment, you know? For L, I have Lockwood & Co., which is a super, super fun read. It's kind of like Spook, but not too extreme. And like, there's a lot that goes on in the world. It's like, I don't know how this book wasn't really shown to me as like a kid, because I would be super into it. It would be Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, and Lockwood & Co., because it's like that classic like trio, you know? And I find it very fun. Do you know what's funny about those trios? It's like, it's 2 dudes and a girl. Why is it never 2 girls and a boy? Why doesn't that work? Actually, it's sometimes... Actually, I don't know if I've ever read a sort of young adult book where it is 2 girls and a dude. Like as the trio. That's weird. Why doesn't that happen more often? I dare say it probably happens more often now, but like when I was growing up, it was never like that. For M, I have Medusa, which is a illustrated retelling of Medusa and Perseus and how something goes on between them, and that's all I'm gonna say because it's interesting. For N, I have pneumonia. I don't know, however you want to say it. This is how I say it, pneumonia. I feel like that sounds right, although it does sound like the disease also, but also could apply to them because I feel like they are a bit they're an interesting character. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. They've also made an animated movie on Netflix, and it is fantastic too. For O, I have One Last Stop, which is an interesting story. It's queer. It's about trains. Someone may or may not be dead. Ghost queer story? I don't know. However you want to perceive it. It's interesting, but I don't know if I absolutely loved it. It's sort of like a mid-read for me. I've heard that Red, White and Royal Blue is a little bit better, but I don't know if I want to go into that. It seems like a whole sort of community, and I don't want to be involved. For P, I have Pawn of Prophecy, which my friend gifted to me and I have still not read. I'm sorry. It's fantasy though, so it seems fun. So who knows? For Q, I have Queer Chameleon and Friends, which is just a wholesome little picture book about the queer community and telling you about it and telling people to go fuck themselves if they don't like you because of that reason. So I like it, you know. I like it, Picasso. For R, I have picked Rule of Wolves because, my goodness, that book traumatized me in more ways than just one. Also, we love it because it's Nikolai, it's Zoya, it's Nina, my three main faves. Well, not my main faves. I have like 4 faves from that universe. One of them's dead, so like can't really love a dead man. For S, I have picked the Saga series, which is an amazing graphic novel series. If you have not heard about it, it's like sci-fi, fantasy, all the fun things, but also Forbidden Love is like the main theme throughout it. So if you love that, give it a read. For T, I have Tales from Outer Suburbia, which is a little picture book of all these fantastical tales that don't really make sense but do. It's sort of like an anthology of randomness and beautifulness, and it's by Sharon Tan, so how could I not love it? The pictures, amazing. For you, I've got Username Evie, which is a graphic novel that is okay. Nothing really happens in it. It's sort of like flatlining a little bit. It's got a little like bumps, but it's not quite, doesn't quite do it for me. For V, I've got Voyager, which is part of the Outlander series, which I have not read because have you seen those books? They're freaking massive and intimidating. I think I'm gonna have to listen to the audiobooks of like all of them. For W, I have Where the Crawdads Sing, which is amazing. I love it so much. I love seeing her story play out throughout the years, but I feel like the murder mystery aspect of it does fall a little bit flat because we don't get a great amount of detail of how it actually came into fruition. We have a little bit of a conspiracy of how it happened, and then we've got a little poem that goes along with it. So we've got an idea of how it happened, and we already kind of know why throughout the story, why this happens, but I feel like it does fall a bit flat because after like the trial and like she gets found not guilty, we kind of like don't find out until much later that she actually did it. Sorry, spoiler, but like weird. No? For X, I have fucking nothing. There's nothing that I own or am interested in reading that starts with X. I feel like X is just a very unique like letter like within like the book world. For Y, I have U, and I have not read it. I'm frightened to read it because that guy is messed up in so many different ways. But I heard that people really do like it because it gives a bit more insight than what the Netflix show does. So it's on my shelf, but it's in a big maybe pile at the moment. I don't want to be traumatized right now. No, thank you. And lastly, for Z, we have Zenith, which I also have not read. I feel like the majority of this list is like, and I have this, but I have not read it, so I cannot comment on it. Sorry. And that's how we will end this. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Please like, subscribe, because that is always nice, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.